Oh, hey. Today, I'm going to be throwing a nice flower vase. Start with some wedged out clay. This is standard clays, 112 stoneware. It's a brown speckled stoneware. My favorite clay in the world. Although I've only tried like 6 kinds of clay, so I don't really know. First of all, I'm just going to throw it down. Try to get in the middle. Just start pushing it towards the center. Then comes the fun part. I'm just coning it up. Try to get all the clay particles groovy before I start asking a lot of the clay. I'm just using the palms of my hands, not really my fingers. Doesn't take that much strength. Don't want to strain myself. Spinning the wheel pretty fast, using plenty of water to center here. Using this part of my hand, my body weight, my elbows are pushed against my stomach. Just to center the clay. There you go. Try to get it a little more centered than that, but that's pretty good. This is about 6 pounds of clay, and I want to make a nice teardrop shaped flower vase. So I'm going to start by opening it up and pulling it pretty tall, but not too thin because I'm going to stretch it out a little bit. I want to have some room to play. Nice and easy down the center. Just kind of guessing how far to go. And then I'll double check. Always misplace my tool. We can go a little bit more than that. Because remember, any clay that's left on the floor is going to be on the floor. Make the piece heavier. I don't want it to be too light or top heavy, it'll tip over. But we don't need that floor to be that thick. So I'm not going to trim a foot rim into this one. Just going to leave the bottom flat. Now I'm just using the sponge, tips of my fingers and my thumb, going back and forth across the bottom, just compressing that clay. Making sure I have a nice solid flat floor. Doesn't crack when it's drying. If you think about the clay while it's drying, it's all shrinking because the water is evaporating and what's left behind is just the clay. So it's going to be smaller without the water, so it shrinks. And if the clay isn't all pressed together well, all fitting together, all those particles, when the water evaporates, it'll shrink, pull it apart, and then I'll have a nice little crack down the middle of my floor. We don't want that. So I've compressed the floor. I'm going to start pushing some of this clay in and recenter it at the rim. Always want that rim to be nice and centered. You don't want it to get too thick or too thin. Pottery wheel is all about balance. The rim is just the tip of the iceberg. So I'm just pulling a little bit of clay as I'm pushing this down, squeezing the sides, making a little upside down cup for that rim to sit into. And then I'm going to check how wide this is. I'm throwing with 6 pounds for a little bit here. Whoops, bumped aside. It's okay. Yep, 4 inches. Start out and make my vase shape. It's been having it about 4 inches wide on the inside, and I'm going to try to pull this thing to about 1 foot tall. So that's going to be pretty tall. But I know we can do it. I'm going to try to pull a lot of clay in one go so the clay doesn't get too tired on us. We don't want to pull too much. Got a lot wider there. I don't know what's going on. We have to do too many pulls to get it up to height. Clay might get tired, start falling asleep, laying down on us, wobbling. But if we pull too much at once, bottom's going to be too thin to support the clay on top of it as I'm pulling it. It puts a lot of strain on the bottom part of the clay down here as I'm pulling up here. We just got to do it gradually. It's another balance. First I'm going to collar it in. Ooh, look at that. Squeeze. There we go. Ooh. Can we go? Can we go? Ah. I think that I collared it in too fast. Might lose this. I'm getting excited talking to you all, not sticking to my plan. Making sound effects. I normally don't make sound effects when I'm throwing. That was the clay going woo, by the way. Collaring it in. Woo. Squeeze, wow. Okay. Still a little wobbly, but we'll fix it. It's all part of the fun, right? There we go, nice. Fix that. See that wobble right there? We can fix that. I got this top part pretty thin. Talking about pulling a lot of clay. Not used to throwing for an audience. Not recently, at least. Just been down in the basement by myself. Just me and the clay hanging out. There we go, that's a lot better. You may want to cut the rim later, but I'm fine with it right now. It was only one pull. And a lot of collaring in. Got us to 10 inches, so I think we can get 2 more off the bottom here. There's still a lot. Although, like I said, I don't want to make this too thin.
in the walls. So I'm going to make a nice teardrop shape. Open up the bottom a little bit. Not too much. Now I'm not really pulling any more height at the top. I'm just trying to like really smooth it out. Get it all together. One long pull. It's hard to breathe. Hard to talk.
Always try to remember to breathe when I'm doing a big pull. So if you hold your breath, I hold my breath. Get all tense. The clay, it's not like tense. It's loose and relaxed. Just hanging out. Okay. Let's see here. My ruler's all covered in clay. How about that? Big surprise. 1 more inch? Okay.
I love my water. I don't want to use too much. It's part of why I'm holding the sponge here. Squeeze out just a little bit at a time. See how much that's wobbling on me in the top section? We got off to a rocky start, but it'll be okay. I think for this part now, try to collar it in again. Lose some of that width. See, I'm just squeezing the water on the top section. So the water make the clay real tired too, real relaxed. There we go. A little bit wonky. I haven't cut the rim in a long time, but I might do it on this one. Just so we don't have that whoop, whoop, whoop. End up being on the top of the piece. Well, that looks pretty good. Yeah, that last, well, we got about a 1/2 inch on that one. That last inch, last 1/2 inch can be a little tough with this much clay. But the bottom's still pretty thick, so I think we can do it. Whoop. I'm bouncing around in there. And keep it smooth and steady as I'm touching the side, otherwise it can just start bouncing my hand around. That's not good. Bounce the clay around with it. Notice I don't have the wheel going too fast, but also not too slow. Breathe. Whew. Okay, we'll see about that. Might be a little narrower than 4 inches now, but that's okay. That first pull, I just really let it go. I was like, whoop, pulled it out like 6 inches across. Oh yeah, we got our foot there. not an exact measure. This isn't a set piece I'm making. Just something I've found to be what's working for me. Very nice spread of the clay to then shape into this shape. And the shape's not exact either. I like the challenge. I like the focus and attention to detail, making pieces in a set or a series. But I think my favorite is just getting a lot of clay, putting it on the wheel, and trying to make a nice flower vase. So that's what we're gonna do. We'll bump the side a little bit there. I can go ahead and just take some of the slip off the side all the way up here, because I'm gonna be working on the bottom mainly for a while. I don't want all that moisture to soak through the clay because it's pretty, not too thin, but it's a little thin up there. So I'm just pushing the outside into the rib, pushing the inside out into the rib, I should say. We're definitely coming back to that part later. That's where the real action happens. Right here. But first I'm going to shape this part. Go ahead and put some water on my arm in case it's bumping around in there. Love getting messy. Okay. Just gotta try to keep my arm kind of straight, not bump the sides too much. Just pushing the inside of the wall into that rib. So I'm kind of bending it, using it not just to compress the clay as it runs along the fine metal edge, but also to shape it. And as you notice, it takes off all that slip too. I'll just take off and throw over there. Oh, at some point I got a lot of water on my floor. I'm gonna soak that up. Whoop. Feels kind of like a game of Operation sometime. Reaching inside a big vase. I wasn't very good at Operation. That's probably why I'm not a surgeon. There's some other reasons too. Mess up a vase. You can just laugh it off. Budge the clay out again. Throw another one. Mess up a person. Doing surgery. I don't know that I want to laugh that off. But to each his own. Somebody's got to do it, right? I'm going to just give it a little bit more width here, a little bit more curvature. Starting at the bottom. Trying to just gradually push it out. One smooth curve, not quite spherical, but a little bit like that. Yeah. What do we think? I'll leave it at the bottom now and just try to accentuate that curve out. Create a little more of a shoulder to it here. Bringing it up, kind of pushing out and up, inside finger. Nice and easy. Whew. What do you think about that? I'm just getting the lines out, smoothing that surface, not really changing the shape too much. What do we think? I think I like that. Now for this next part, use a tool that's not necessary, but I really don't mind using it. I think it's like my safety blanket sometimes, but really don't use it as much as I used to. I'm just gonna heat up this section using a blowtorch right here. I don't know that I need to. I didn't make it that thin. Not asking too much of the clay. But that is a nice shoulder, and I want to have plenty of time just to play with this curve, give it a nice neck. And so I just don't want that clay to get tired on me. So I give it a little boost. Just kind of feeling with my finger here to see when it's dry enough for me. I'm not going to toast it all the way. Nobody likes burnt toast, right? Just want it to hold its shape while I'm playing with the next part. I am going to pick this up off the wheel right after I finish throwing it. I don't have a bat, so with a shape like this, it'll help to have the clay be stiffer at the bottom. I can just go ahead and toast it up now because it'll help me with the throwing part too. Make sure to really get under there as it starts to lift up here at the bottom, right at the bottom of the curve. It's where a lot of the weight of this clay is held, supported by that curve. A nice curve has more structural integrity to it than a sharp angle on a piece like this at the base, but there's still only so much that it can do. Now I'm just making sure that shoulder is going to hang out for me. And this part too, as I collar in the piece, I'm going to make a nice narrow neck here, kind of have this continuous flowing curve. It's going to ask a lot of the clay right here, so I'm not going to toast it quite as much as the bottom part, but I am going to give it a little crisp. Just help it be a little more patient with me. Always appreciate when the clay bears with me. It's plenty patient.
That should be plenty. Like I said, it's not entirely necessary in the first place, but I like to throw a little bit thin. This isn't too thin actually, but might need a little time to play this curve in the neck to get it just right. Yeah, certainly not a master at this. Maybe someday I'll do it. There's no torch and no water too. Just gonna collar it in. I don't want to make it too narrow because I want somebody to be able to put some nice flowers in this thing. But I'm gonna give it a little more lift there. Since we have plenty of clay, it's behaving for us. Going for something graceful and elegant. Maybe a little fancy. Well, that's very nice. This is the thing though. Now that I collared it in, there's a lot more clay down here than I really need. It's gotten kind of thick, so I'm just gonna go back maybe just one more time. Pull some of that clay. Give us some extra height. Before I go and smooth it all out, make it look really nice. Just getting the rough shape right now. One more time. Really try to take advantage of all this clay, because this is a lot of clay. Oh boy. Our wobble has come back to haunt us. I'm not perturbed, I'm pulling some clay below it still. Might be silly of me, but just in it for the fun. Yeah, that got pretty thin pretty quick. I was overzealous, but I think we can manage. It's part of the adventure, part of the journey, this piece. I'll make it that much more interesting and beautiful as we finish it off. Yeah, it's gotten very thin. The rim is the thickest part in this section of the base now. All down the neck. Pulled so much clay. Maybe I was overzealous, but I was doing it for the love of pottery, not because I wanted to destroy this nice piece. So I think it will forgive me. You know, it's not the most graceful piece, but we're not done. The saga continues. Just gonna take this rib and run it all along the piece in an attempt to make one great continuous flowing curve.
Neck's having some issues there. Really feel for people with neck issues. It's what your head sits on. So we'll try to deal with them when we can. Still need to clean that up a little bit. Call me unfaithful to the wet clay, but I'm bringing back our friend the torch. Help make this piece what it can be. Doing it for the love of pottery. That's all. All of this could just use a little friend. Torch is my little friend. Yep, that's it. That's the spot. And then up here. Woo. So sick. This thing may just be beautiful. I can see it now. But I believed in it the whole time. Wobble through every wobble. The key to throwing good pottery for me is having the vision and believing in it, but not holding on too tight. Because if you squeeze the clay, it'll just squeeze away. There we go, nice and easy. Still got a lot of lines. I don't know what that's about. Who left those there? Okay. The vase is already there, but it's these finishing touches that really make it something elegant. Something you just want to look at. So I'm going to take my time. Really try to create a smooth, flowing, continuous connection between each angle of the curve, each section. It's looking pretty good. One more touch up for the neck, the top. What do we think? There's something just about this spot right here that's speaking to me, saying, hey, don't forget about me. It's okay. I didn't forget. Do we see anything else? I really don't make sound effects. Oh, there goes the rim. It's all on the pinky. Just bumped it. No worries, we're gonna do something with the rim anyways. My favorite final touch. The rim always draws the eye. I love to just make it look nice and neat. And so we don't have that curve changed at the last minute. Just a little bit off because of the new rim. Every detail counts. There you go. Well, it's been fun throwing this vase. Thank you all for joining me. Now, it gets to go on to the next part of the journey. Say farewell to throwing. Next stop will be trimming.